the area damage will soften them up for your teammates.
The score is currently 1-1 between No Tomorrow and Superstars for the first match of Phase 2 of the HGC North America. Currently 1-1. It's been interesting to see how these two teams have made their adjustments. You can definitely see where there's still some adaptations to be made between both of the teams.
Yeah, they're trying to figure it out. And with the new roster, and even just one player being different, a lot of teams are like, it's the same. It's like the exact same thing. It is totally different. To rely on a certain person, what they say and how they say it can mean one thing different than like the next guy, you know, when it's like, I need pressure, like what does that mean? It's such a vague statement. But in gaming, that can mean like, 20 different things, and each team have their own interpretation. So working on those type of things, it's just definitely not smoothed out. And we can see that and identify that not only just in the play of the teams, but also the synergy between some of the players.
Well, let's see where game number 3 is going to take place. Superstars, having lost the last game, has chosen first pick. No Tomorrow chooses Cursed Hollow for game number 3.
Cursed Hollow, nothing stands out as a major advantage for either way as well when it comes to this map. I'm just going off of generally what we've seen from these teams throughout all of Phase 1, just the players individually, but then also a team strength, right? So if we know one to be better at rotations, better at macro, is in a map that complements that. And I don't see, again, anything for either one of these. The only one that stands out for me, maybe like a No Tomorrow Towers. They had a lot of nice pressure and rotations last time we saw them on it. But other than that, Superstars, with how slow they're playing, any map that complements late game is the biggest thing for me. Definitely not ones that you can lose an early game advantage against snowballed upon.
I would love to see something like Jason, Abathur, and then the rest of No Tomorrow be able to play around that with maybe like an Abathur Greymane and Abathur Genji possibility from No Tomorrow. We have yet to see Genji. He's been banned in the first bans and then later on. Superstars banning Dahaka though, maybe they're going to be looking to pick up Abathur.
Yeah, I think it's going to allow No Tomorrow to just ban the Abathur. I don't think there's any way it makes it through. So Abathur is not only very successful right now, he is a, certain maps, certain circumstances, everybody just goes, you just can't let your opponents have that. Anytime you see the Dahaka ban on this map, it just flat out goes, okay, we really want the Abathur. Like, I'm surprised at how often we've seen teams do that and just be like, are you going to let Abathur through? If anything, most of the time, if the Dahaka is the first ban, I'm assuming that's an Abathur ban. And if not, then I'm like, huge advantage for me. Already misplay in the draft early on.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is maybe if you're wanting to let it through so that you can really get something else that is that important to you that you're willing to play versus that. But there it is. Abathur and Dahaka banned, 2 globals already off the battleground, or off the field of availability to pick.
A noob Genji in the next rotation for No Tomorrow. It's a map that accents it the most. It makes the most amount of sense to move into it. Said that a lot. We've seen a interesting priority on Genji here in North America for these two teams. He's shown up in the ban phase, opening ban phase of game number 1. Game number 2, we didn't even see him until second, or did we see him up at the first still? We saw him in second.
Are you talking about Genji?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the second bans.
Saw him in the secondary ban phase. So Malf, Fear of the Support Choke, that one's not weird.
No, Genji.
Over the Anubarak, that seems interesting. You either go Malf and Noob or a Noob Genji, in my opinion, in that rotation. You go, if you're afraid of the support choke, I don't think there's anything wrong with the Malf. You just have to think about all of your comp whenever you commit to the Malfurion versus if you go into the Noob. If they commit those resources into the map in those bans, you should be able to gain something in those drafts.
A Noob was a given. What do you think of the Tassadar? I think we've seen a rotation like that happen before, even at the midseason brawl.
Yeah, it's essentially posturing. It says that you can go 3 routes now. You can move into the Ariel's trifecta still and have Uther replace. Well, that's not even true, actually. By picking up the Uther, you can't. It's just a Tracer or an Illidan is what that indicates. I was going to say you can hybrid into the trifecta, or you can hybrid into a different route, which is the hyper carry. But no, this one with the TAS and the Uther, they're saying 100% Illidan, Tracer. What are you afraid of? What are you not afraid of? I am definitely not afraid of the Illidan out of those two compared to the Tracer. Tracer is not as good overall, but with Genji, I feel like I can get more reliable kills if I go Illidan into Genji into Illidan than I do into Genji into Tracer.
It's just what Superstars can play. Like, what has Srey been able to adapt into?
Yeah.
Because it's probably Yoda playing that Tassadar.
I would say this isn't a stab for any Tassadar players out there in the world. At least on Tempo Storm, our thought process for a lot of the time was if you were put on Tassadar and the meta changed to where the Tassadar essentially was needed to be played by a different player, just put him on it. He's pretty easy to be impactful, and you gotta really derp pretty hard to mess him up hard enough to lose the video game because of your Tassadar. I'm not taking away from what you have to say, but if any character was the one where I'd draft it and be like, seriously, you don't play Tassadar competitively, today's the day to learn, like, is that hero. I'd just be like, go, run, my young one. Hit E when you're about to die. Sometimes you press R, and most of the time, this is the guy you just face roll Q.
I'm not sure that Superstars would have triple supported with Uther, Tassadar, and Ariel, but it was still scary enough for No Tomorrow that they just did not want to deal with it, so they used their ban for that.
That's exactly what I was. When you heard my thought process, I was like, "This is a fear." Oh wait, not with these two. That's no longer a problem. No Tomorrow disagrees. They just flat out were like, "Nope, not today." Banning it out.
Wombo!
And bringing out the Wombo. We've got ourselves the Diablo, Zeratul, Void, APOC, Dream. So now, again, counter momentum and heroes that can deal well with that. I still wouldn't hate the Tychus. It doesn't fit the composition of Superstars. It's going to be, my guess is the Illidan. It makes the most sense for macro play. Tracer's more one-dimensional. But now seeing the APOC Wombo combo now could put the fear of the Illidan Zeratul matchup. We've talked about it throughout Heroes history. It just goes, the Illidan will go in, and he will isolate from his team. Does he go far enough away to where the Void, it buys enough time to isolate him and get that kill? Or can he retreat, kite on his own, and when that happens, if he survives, they always win the fight. And if they don't, they always lose the fight.
Yeah, I'm looking at what Superstars have so far, and it's way too scary to get Falstad versus that, although with a Gust, like looking at what heroes Superstars play a lot, Gust would be another counter momentum strategy, but in this case, Illidan, Tyrael. That is very Illidan focused.
Yeah, wow. Very Illidan focused, so much so that No Tomorrow, if they could commit into an all macro play, or at least a way to gain an advantage through a macro on their 5th slot, would be very beneficial. But again, how many of those remain? Falstad is one that seems semi-appealing, but not really, loses into the Illidan. It's not... That one's, more, I guess, a bit more of a skill in a lot of situations. It relies on the level and where they're at, but it's not a global you want and say does well into that. And Dahaka gone, Abathur gone. They go for it.
So Illidan Tassadar gets more shields from Tyrael, maybe a Divine Shield from Uther too. Potentially Judgment, Illidan? Like Judgment plus the Hunt?
So that is no, because of a couple of variables. So you could argue into the Malfurion that it's like going to be one of those weaker ones that you want to dive into. There's a lot of squishies on the opposite side, but my argument against it would just be based on the fact that a full blow for blow on the lack of damage that exists on one side and how much Illidan problem and how much focus into the Illidan we've seen on the other. The only way we see Superstars really fall behind is through heavy macro, through the Falstad gaining those advantages. But in a full team fight later in parts of the game, there's no place where they lose fights. Illidan will win, even with the Zeratul. They don't have enough single target damage. They don't have enough blow up. It's we're going to counter Wombo and maybe go blow for blow, but Tyrael should be able to stop that. So then if you look at the other opportunity, if you go full isolation, Zeratul thrives even better in those circumstances because Illidan dives, Judgment dives, everybody's voided. You just lost the whole fight every single time. So it's one of those where the win condition is so niche and the counter is so niche, it removes that secondary approach for both of these compositions.
Yeah, we've seen the Hunt versus Genji specifically after he uses Deflect, but in that case, it's really scary with Twilight Dream as a possibility, Void Prison, even Falstad to try to reset. So let's get into this game, see how the Wombo's executed, see how the Illidan even executed for Superstars. Game number 3.
In the blue is going to be No Tomorrow. Tiger JK again on Malfurion. Jason is going to be onto the Falstad. Casanova playing Diablo. Equinox on Zeratul. And we've got Talking Trees is going to be the Genji here for No Tomorrow.
In the red, the members of Superstars, Srey playing that Illidan. That's new. Hosty playing Tassadar. Playing Tyrael will be Yoda. Playing Uther will be Iacona. And finally, Erho on a new Barak.
So, ignoring the draft analysis on purely draft alone, now knowing what we experienced out of Superstars in the last game and in game number 1 and how they approached it, even though their drafts seem to be a bit more meta-focused, their gameplay is anything but, to the point where I still think that No Tomorrow, as long as they draft reasonable compositions, are just better than Superstars, at least from, again, these 2-game sample size we've seen on bringing on Yoda to the roster of Superstars.
Yeah, Superstars has a lot more that they have to contend with. 2 different people, 1 person changing a role as well. From a role that, gosh, we've known Srey to play Warriors for just about forever. Nice Hammer of Justice there from Iacona to slow down the gank possibilities of No Tomorrow. But yeah, there is just a lot more different that the members of Superstars have had to adjust to so far.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm looking forward to watching Srey specifically into this matchup because, again, not only is it that role swap for him, but it's a skill matchup, a long-standing one of the Zeratul on one side, Illidan on the other, and just how can you get that dance, because Illidan does play very unique, you know, compared to every other character in Heroes of the Storm. When he is effective, he feels very different than every other hero. But we are half a second or 30 seconds away from what is going to be the Giant phase spawning. I expect to see Illidan be the drawback here for Superstars. Zeratul should be that one for No Tomorrow. And then both teams hope for the respective oh, man.
They're respective?
Tributes. Woo!
Nailed it.
Got him.
So Zeratul and Diablo snuck down, took the vision of Superstars to check and see if that is a possibility that Superstars are going to go get their Giants too, at least make them try to take that back. Giants spawning now.
They're going to move in. It looks like it's an invade. Genji's the only to show for now.
Yeah, so that vision was to try to scare away Superstars from being able to get their Giants. Still going after it now. A lot of resources of No Tomorrow have been dedicated to this invade.
They have. And it's gonna pay off. There's nobody pressuring anything else on the map. So, like, No Tomorrow, a new Barak can't push out. He isn't winning his lane. He's definitely not going to be winning his lane over that small window. False add into Tyrael. There's nobody who pulls ahead far enough there either. It's a smart way to commit your resources because Superstars doesn't have the individual 1v1 matchups to push out and be like, well, at least we took your front wall.
Yeah.
It's just like, they can't do anything over this 30-second window. Might as well invade.
That pulled back Illidan to defend and allowed No Tomorrow to keep pressure up in the mid. Now the tribute spawning up in the top. Who heads up? Who goes? It looks like everybody.
It's going to be a party. Starting out with Srey. Wow, a lot of rotations here from No Tomorrow as they commit many members. Zeratul getting the pressure out, and the members of Superstars survive. It's going to be a tribute cost over to them. Can they get the turnaround now? Because again, you do not open a team fight properly into a Illidan composition. You usually lose it in the long run, but a new Barak, in fact, is going to be the one going down. The roots are there. Nice zone on to Superstars. 2 members down. No Tomorrow wins the fight.
First 2 kills of the game. They do pay for it with the tribute, leaving Tyrael up in the top to get that. But it does give No Tomorrow a little experience advantage. And as they head back in the lanes, they'll be hoping to carry that forward.
They will be looking to get that off. The timing of the Knights, standard. Giants are stalled out a little bit later here for No Tomorrow. Just because, again, the invade we saw in the first cycle for them. But this is better for No Tomorrow. The teams that you see back out and get Giants, it's not necessarily that it's a huge advantage if you end up getting them. You're just banking on the coin toss, right? And you just would rather be the team that goes, well, at least we go blow for blow than trying to take a fight that you may lose and everything snowball against you here. But stalling it out for them worked the first time. It's working with the secondary cap here, especially with that delay. It's just everything is working in circumstances it shouldn't be for No Tomorrow.
No Tomorrow have decided to bring Falstad in rather than keeping and pushing up in the top lane, so they're fighting over this tribute. Airho in trouble. Equinox actually where the position he's in, and Srey going to go into. Equinox has nowhere to run, runs back in and goes down. Hosty was not taken out. Now Jason, the next one to be in trouble, and Srey can chase for days, brings him down too.
Yeah, he definitely can chase for days, and they're going to continue to move forward. Trees moves back, questioning if he wanted to interrupt that final second. And, you know, the Giants were moving up on top, so No Tomorrow, they did want to delay, but at the cost of 2 members, that was too many resources, right? It just was not according to plan. And we talk about the adjustment of the new members on the roles and everything and such. We're looking at Srey specifically. I'm very afraid for what this game is going to happen in the later parts of this game. Even if Equinox gets this through Vorpal, which he will, yeah, that's going to be another pick. As team fights end up going down, watch Srey and how often he uses his Q. So one thing, when you play Illidan, this is just off of this game alone. This is the only time I've ever seen Srey play Illidan. He spams his Q. That is the last thing you want to do on Illidan, because his Q does negative damage. It is just flat terrible damage, to where most of the time you actually lose it. Not only you're losing a potential gap closer in some situations, you're losing flat out damage in some situations. And I would like to see him hold back on that. It's just, it's showing right now that he is, yes, he knows his cooldowns are going to be up, but he's essentially getting an ineffective trade on that hero, and it shows that he has not been as well versed on what the min-max of that character. And so if this carries over to team fights, I see him just dying in a lot of these. He's not getting the trade that he would want on an Illidan.
Yeah, dive is also another possible escape once you pick up Friend Foe at level 4. So we'll see how that goes for Superstars. No Tomorrow finally get their own tribute with their level 10 advantage. It is the Wombo combo of Apocalypse with Void Prison for that team. They also have Dragon Blade, Gust, Twilight Dream, all in the works, all possible for those team fights.
Making it happen here, Gilly. All in the works. The boss cycle around. Yoda does end up setting, you know, his escape route here, sniffing out that the flank might be there.
Oh.
Saints. He's got Q up in a couple of seconds here.
This would be huge to get the kill after getting Sank too.
He's going down.
Well done, No Tomorrow. Finally taking out Tyrael, although Yoda buys a lot of time. Rotations going in. Void Prison used. Tiger JK at the front of the battle. And
there's the Cocoon. Man, the fact that Tiger JK didn't get that pressure out, that was so very huge. Now he should be there to be able to get the heals and the peel necessary. Casanova survives. No Tomorrow, I said it before the game started, it feels like they're just flat out the better team. It's just whether or not they can cycle and rotate to be able to deal with Superstars, and so far they're doing all right here, getting 4-2 in kills.
And keeping Falstad in the bottom too. Another tribute will be up soon. This is Curse Point for Superstars, so an important one again for No Tomorrow to win.
Nice attempt there for an initiation. Flight in for the Falstad. The tribute's up. The rotational advantage is going to be there for Superstars. As you see the dismount there, Hosty throwing down as much as he can.
Nubarak has to go back to tap though, and that is it's enough time for No Tomorrow to get into position. Yeah, there's no Void Prison. There's also no Sanctification still. Apocalypse.
The Apocalypse is going to be used raw there, and they actually get it. Now Tiger JK, the pressure is there. Meta comes in for Srey as Cocoon is only going to buy more and more time. Look at no members can retreat on the side of No Tomorrow. Look at the mobility between Srey, between Yoda there on the Tyrael.
Does Jason already use barrel roll? Oh, it doesn't matter. He's out. Curse achieved by Superstars. This is a moment where they can get quite ahead in this game. There are forts up for them to try to take. There are 2 bosses. There's a Casanova here, up for grabs.
Yeah, the Casanova is going to be a huge one, and that will be another staggered death for No Tomorrow. He does come back.
Yeah, it's not hugely staggered, but man, losing your souls is awful when you're Diablo.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you're back on the battlefield, but you aren't the same hero.
But at what cost?
Yeah, exactly. You aren't the same hero you were.
So well, we know what cost. It was 100 souls.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, 100 of them. And it's just one of those moments where you're like, I don't think this was worth it, but I can't stop it. You know, you feel it a lot on Uther, especially with Redemption. You're just like, okay, I need to die to heal my team, but you're like, oh, but is this actually the time I want to be brought back to life? Probably not. But he's here. He's looking to join us. The kills are even, and with the curse, Superstars opened up the map. They got 3/4 down. They back out, they get a boss. This will be easily cleared out. We see No Tomorrow not posturing to trade bosses. So that essentially means No Tomorrow is going to give up a double boss play, but it's going to be very free experience and clear onto the map for a long while.
Yeah, it was way more important for them that they were able to clear out all of the lanes, all the minions heading their way, to keep up in experience with Superstars, which they've done. So now they have Falstad, yes, they have Void Prison up too, so they have some abilities for trying to steal a boss, but they also have the boss to defend in the top lane. It's a tough choice to have to make.
It's going to be made. Looks like it's bottom. Falstad is going to be the lone defender as he slowly rides his way on up there. The Superstars should start this boss and then question what happens to the Falstad. So the fact that Falstad is getting free clear means that Superstars doesn't have any intent of taking this boss. They're begging for a fight. Like, you should be as offensive as possible during that time, because there's no way that you don't expect somebody to respond up towards top and you don't at least start that boss. It's just one of those really weird things that, you know, unless you experience it time and time again, that maybe most people don't look at and be like, oh, this is obviously their thought process. But the fact that No Tomorrow has even moved down there is kind of just falling into the trap a little bit, really. They could have just been like, guys, they haven't even started it. Like, they don't want this at all.
Yeah, No Tomorrow only had to deal with the one boss. They cleared it out. They're still at 14. Things look good for a No Tomorrow recovery, especially if they can get their hands on their own boss.
Yeah, it would be nice if they can get that, especially with any major tribute play. Because bosses and curse, we know on Curse Hollow are the win conditions, and the fact that they've already won a curse and they've won with the boss and it's only been a 3/4 means the next win is a long ways away for Superstars and a bit closer for No Tomorrow. The fact that they are even in experience is the saving grace of this game for No Tomorrow.
And a lot of that's been because they were able to get Falstad and keep him soaking in the top lane, as he's doing right now. A lot of people off the field of vision for No Tomorrow, though.
I gotta do some math here, Gilly.
All right. They did see Yoda, though, hanging out in the mid, and the Sanctification is one of the big tools that Superstars have for being able to hold on to a boss point.
Yeah, so I don't have all the numbers here, but I did manage to isolate it here. When I was talking about dive, specifically on the Illidan spamming your Q, it changes at 16. Once you get the isolated damage onto a single target, once you get multiple, you get marked for death, and you guess what? You're marking him for death. You want to blow him up. So that will change here. But even at level 15, his Q is doing here, according to that, 119. Sitting at the 119 threshold. Now, to be fair, I don't know if that's going to be adjusting here. I'll keep track of it, but it's 119 damage. So it's all about using your double, cycling out, waiting for your friend to throw, drawing aggro. This boss stealth away. No holy ground online. The Gust is going to be there.
But so was Cocoon. Nobody was on the point yet.
The Dream. They got a lot of damage. Sanctification, the Void. Everything is blowing up on point, especially with the APOC there dropping.
Casanova now moves on to the point. Still Stray and Yoda, but the members of Superstars are getting low. They've got Divine Shield. Casanova goes down, but so does Tyrael. The boss is stolen by Superstars.
Superstars, man, No Tomorrow took the high-risk play of saying they can't do this before 16, before the Holy Ground threat is there. The Superstars not only scouted out, they get the fight, they get the victory, and now they've got a boss behind them. Opening up more of this map is going to be crucial, as there is still 10 to 20 seconds before Dibbles is going to be back here. That was awesome. That's another win condition and major power play removed from the side of No Tomorrow.
Yeah, it enables Superstars to once again make sure that No Tomorrow can't recover from the curse of Superstars. Putting some damage on that top keep. There's a tribute behind this too that Superstars can move back and take on their retreat back to their base, getting back into the lanes to soak on their way to 20.
2 tributes for Superstars and only 1 for No Tomorrow. The bosses were so far apart from one another here. What do we see? Top is 45 seconds remain. So 45 seconds on that puppy. No Tomorrow is got to deny it and also a tribute. There's no global because the hunt wasn't picked up by Stray. But if there was, Superstars essentially could go with 100% boss play and force that onto a trib. Essentially, you start the boss, the Illidan's the one who kind of acts like you're going to rotate, and then suddenly, oh, we picked up boss on the other side of the map. But now being down that, No Tomorrow essentially should, between the Zeratul and the False Head, make the proper rotation, be able to force the fight properly with their wombo combo. It's still, I feel like No Tomorrow has the advantage here, even though they've been behind.
They're going for another fight. Casanova dives in, gets separated with Holy Ground.
Gust. That's not a cooldown you want to pop that early. 6 seconds before Sanctification's back online, you see Srey. He wants it.
There's no fort here to retreat to. No Tomorrow's going to get split.
Just going to be a lot of trade there. Yoda goes in another Holy Ground. He's isolated. Equinox moves in. He gets a bit of poke. There goes the burrow from Urho. Another knockup. Cocoon's dropped. Equinox suplexing over, but Yoda is fine. He's just a Tyrael. Holy Ground and splitting up here. Tribute's up on top. Falstad is questioning if he wants to get the flight out. This should be No Tomorrows.
Yeah, No Tomorrow were able to go back around and move back up to the tribute faster with their rotations. They even have people in position to stop the rotations of Superstars so that No Tomorrow can guarantee the tribute. 2 versus 2 tributes.
It's a tense one, and everybody sees it. They know it's around the boss. That is going to determine a lot. Equinox goes in with a double pressure. Wow, Metamorphosis, the stun, Casa, he flips over Srey. That was a very early meta. That's a defensive tool that they might want, but that Void, so very early because Falstad isn't there. He actually backed. He's not even flying to this fight whatsoever. And they get out. Wow.
That was 2 abilities that both teams would really, really like to have as we get started here. No Metamorphosis, no Void Prison. Boss fight started from Superstars.
But
still have Sanctification, still have Holy Ground.
And they have Divine Shield and Cocoon. Well, not Cocoon anymore, as we see it exploding there. There goes the Apox. It's going to be dodged by the Dimensional Shift. Sanctification's used just to block onto Twilight Dream over there. The solo isolated Tiger JK talking about Dream. He's going to line up there. He's going to drop it down, and the silence is enough. Gunji just hacking, slashing, and more importantly, just wrecking Superstars.
Trees is slicing and dicing all over Superstars. Only a Nubrax left, and Trees does not want to give that one up either. No Tomorrow has wiped Superstars.
Oh, that was beautiful.
That was a really pretty Genji play, enabled from the rest of the team. So well done from No Tomorrow. All of Superstars still down for 20+ seconds, except Tassadar. No Tomorrow can take out this keep and move on to the core.
And that I mean, it was just too crisp and too clean in the last team fight. Well deserved here. This is going to be game number 3, going over to No Tomorrow as they find themselves leading this series now. And you know, I'm happy and I'm sad. I'm happy because, you know, I feel like No Tomorrow is just showing that when it comes down to it, execution really does matter. It just takes one fight, one proper fight for them, and they will show that they're the better team and win. But also, Superstars drafting does have a lot of positives to it, and it should get them an advantage in a lot of ways, but every time they just kind of go, do you want to make the mistake? And No Tomorrow's not letting them have it.
I just feel like this series and how it's gone down so far really is the product of a lot of changes and trying to adjust to that versus some changes. It's definitely a huge change to change your shot caller, to have to roll swap Casanova over to Warrior, but it just does not seem as severe as everything that Superstars have been going through, and especially because they just have not had all the time needed to really figure out their synergy. What's going to be the positive points for them as a team now having in Yoda?
Yeah, it's interesting to see it play out because it's, again, you can feel for them. You can see some of the things, too, as well with the thought process behind the players, but you can also just feel that huge road bump, you know, with them as they're going through this game. And it's like what they're learning about themselves as players and as about themselves as a team. It's just like, are they going to be able to overcome that? It's like, do they force this fight? And it's simple questions that they constantly going to have to ask themselves, but they need to figure out who they are and what those strengths are and how even team fights are going to be approached until they can grow. And
if they want first pick or battleground pick for the next game, that's another question they have to ask. I'm thinking it'll be first pick again. It's been that way so far for both of the teams, and I think while we still see teams figuring those kinds of things out, we will see them really stick to that. It's not like, I don't think any teams really have had any canned strategies that they've prepared probably for this weekend.
Yeah.
Because of, you know, just starting things off and a lot of things being new for these teams.
A lot of them are probably just going in with the mentality of like, put out your best performance. You know, we know we have to learn a lot of things. We know that it's going to be rough around the edges. Just go out there, play your hearts out, give it your best, and that's really all you can ask for. The most important thing is looking at the VOD and making sure you grow from that point on.
Another thing to remember, too, is that next weekend we'll have a different meta of sorts because of the patch. So a lot of things to get used to for our team so far.
Yeah, that is another cool thing, a cool dynamic from the competitive world is like, debatably, you could get some of your best development in a stale meta because you don't have to worry about the variable of draft. You can just rinse and repeat, and you know, you've always, you know, with a degree here or there, strength or weaknesses, for the most part, my individual skill is always going to be the thing that determines the outcome of this game. So you should be able to grow in that sense, but you also are weakened in the creativity and innovation when it comes to, are we really good at macro? Are we very good at this? If that meta did not meet your individual strengths, you often can feel like a team that is great and maybe even world class may not feel that way just based on the meta itself.
Now, no